we must stop pointing the finger at other people, which is not to say that there are wrongs out there. But if this is all we do, then this only indicates that we are a completely defeated ummah. That is the reality. And if that is difficult to swallow, al-haqqu mur. The truth is bitter. If that's difficult to swallow, the truth is bitter. We have to look into ourselves. I believe that the Americans have to look into themselves. They have to recognize that the wrongs that have happened in many parts of the world do have a connection with misguided aspects. I mean, this is something that the Americans have to deal with. And I think the voices of Muslims can be a help in guiding them. But if we continue to point fingers as if all that's wrong, لولا الغرب كنا متراحمين. If it was just the West was gone, we'd all be living in mercy. If it was just the West was gone, we'd all be having a wonderful time. This is a fantasy. It's a falsehood. And the Muslims have to reject that thesis. We have deep-seated problems in our ummah, and until we begin to really set our sights on those problems, until Muslims become mukhlisin, sincere in the work that they do, stop wasting time. In the country that I live in California, people are up at 5 in the morning driving to work. Most of them don't get back till 7 o'clock. They're a hard-working people, and their work has paid them fruits, some of which are bitter fruits if their works are misguided, but they have paid them fruits. They work hard. The Jews that the Muslims will speak often about are a hard-working people. They work hard. But when you look at many of the Muslims, you don't see that same level of dedication. You don't see that same level of work. And the nature of the world is that it's sunan. If you follow the sunan, you will succeed. But if you don't follow those patterns, you won't succeed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives to people. Yuti mulkuhu man yasha. He didn't say yuti mulkuhu al-muslimin. Yuti mulkuhu man yasha. He gives His dominion to whomever He pleases. And there's a wisdom in that. And there's always a wisdom. So Muslims, we have to recognize there's much work to be done. We have a great deal of work to do. We need to educate ourselves. We need to be concerned with constructive matters, not destructive matters, because the Muslims, by their nature, are builders. They're producers. That we have given the world one of the greatest civilizations. And I would say that if you look in our history of over 1,400 years, the vast majority of our history is success. It is not failure. We are an ummah of success, of najah and falah. We're not an ummah of fashal, of failure. It is not the nature of the Muslim ummah to be failures. But if we do not recognize that success comes in following the prerequisites of success, and if we don't follow those, because one of the Americans, Einstein, said that the definition of madness is to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. الجنون أن تفعل نفس الشيء مرة بعد مرة وتتوقع نتائج مختلفة. Right? You expect some different result. It's not going to happen. And I will end this lecture by saying one thing. Do not despair of the Europeans or the Americans. And I think that my presence here is a testimony to that truth. Do not despair. La tublisu, because Iblis is the one who ablasa. When the Mughals invaded Baghdad, they had blood running in the streets. And yet they became great Muslims. They defended Islam. And in fact, those Muslims, because their tawheed was intact, when they came down, they said, this is adab Allah, sullita alayna li dhunubina. That's what the Muslims said. This is a punishment from Allah that has come to us because of our own wrong actions. رَبَّنَا لَا تُسَلِّطْ عَلَيْنَا بِذُنُوبِنَا مَنْ لَا يَرْحَمُنَا وَلَا يَخَافُكَ فِينَا.